Okay, so let's talk about a moment we have all been in. You know the one. The argument's over, the yelling has stopped, but what's left behind is this tension so thick you could cut it with a knife. Today, we're not going to talk about how to win a fight. We're going to talk about what you do in that really difficult, awkward aftermath to actually, fix things.
This right here, this is the moment that really defines the relationship. The fight itself, that's just the storm. The real damage, that happens in this cold, hollow silence. It's that awful knot in your stomach, the way you start avoiding each other, the texts that go unanswered. This is where a simple disconnection can harden into real, lasting resentment.
All right, let's really get into this because this is probably the biggest mindset shift we're going to cover today. We're taught how to argue or maybe how to just avoid conflict entirely, but has anyone ever handed you a manual for how to repair the damage? The fight itself isn't a sign that your relationship is bad. The failure to reconnect afterward, that's the real problem. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to dig into the science behind that awful post-fight feeling. Then, we'll expose 3 super common traps that just make everything worse. After that, we'll reframe this whole idea of conflict with something called the power of repair, and then I'm going to walk you through a practical 4-step protocol to actually fix things. The goal? To help you build truly resilient relationships. So, why is that silence so painful? And why is it so incredibly hard to break? Well, it's not just in your head. It's actually your biology. Let's take a look at what's really happening inside your brain. So when you're in a conflict, your brain literally thinks it's under threat. This kicks your amygdala, your brain's ancient little alarm system, into high gear. It floods your body with stress hormones like cortisol. You've probably heard of this, it's the amygdala hijack. But here's the thing, even after the fight is officially over, that alarm is still blaring, making it almost impossible to think clearly or feel empathy. You're basically still in survival mode.
And because our brains are in this hijacked survival state, we instinctively fall into these, traps that stop any real healing and usually make the whole situation even worse. Let's break down the 3 most common ones.
First up, we have the avoidance spiral. This one is fueled by that dangerous myth that time heals all wounds. You know, the thinking, if we just ignore it, things will go back to normal. But they don't, do they? The resentment just goes underground and it waits. It waits to explode later over something totally small, like who left a dish in the sink. And this quote just nails it. Time doesn't heal, it just gives that little splinter of resentment more time to dig itself deeper and deeper into the relationship. Inaction is a silent relationship killer, for sure.
Okay, trap number 2 is the cheap apology. Oh, we've all heard this one, and let's be honest, we've probably all said it. I'm sorry you feel that way. That is not an apology. It's a subtle accusation. It implies the problem wasn't what you did, but the other person's oversensitive reaction to it. It just invalidates their feelings and honestly does way more harm than good.
And the third trap is what I call the winner's loss. This is for anyone out there who just loves to be right. You use facts, logic, evidence, you dismantle their entire argument, piece by piece, until you're standing there victorious. But here's the problem. You won the battle of facts, but you completely lost the war for the relationship. You've left the other person feeling defeated, small, and totally unsafe with you. And that really brings us to the most important question you can ask yourself right after a fight. Because let's face it, most of the time you can't be both. This choice, right here, is the pivot point. It's the moment you decide whether you're going to make things worse or start the process of making them better. So, if we manage to avoid those traps, what are we supposed to do instead? Well, this is where we get to reframe the whole purpose of conflict. It's not a sign that things are failing. It's actually an opportunity for the relationship to get stronger. This is the key insight. Every single relationship is going to have ruptures. It's just inevitable. The real strength of that relationship isn't measured by a lack of fighting, but by how good you are at repairing things afterward. In fact, when you successfully repair a rupture, you can actually make the bond of trust even stronger than it was before the fight. So, okay, how do we actually do it? Let's get really practical. This is a clear, step-by-step framework you can lean on when your brain is all fuzzy and, your heart is hurting.
But wait, before we even get to step 1, there is a crucial step 0, the 90-second reset. You absolutely cannot create a calm conversation if you're coming from a triggered, anxious state. You have to regulate your own nervous system first. The easiest way to do this is a 90-second body scan. Just find a quiet spot, Close your eyes and just notice the physical feelings of that emotion in your body. Don't judge it, just notice it. Breathe. That simple act tells your amygdala that the threat is over.
Okay, once you're calm, the protocol itself has 4 key steps. It starts with a really gentle invitation to talk, then it moves into deep listening, then a real apology, and finally, and this is so important, to receiving that apology. This last step is crucial. It means you accept their effort with grace. You say thank you, and you don't use their apology as a chance to get one last jab in. It rewards the repair and it closes the loop. So let's break down those first 3 parts of the process.
Step 1 is all about how you start the conversation. Instead of demanding to talk right now, you make a gentle bid for connection. Using what's called a soft startup with phrases like these is a game changer. It works because you're expressing your feelings without any blame, you're reaffirming that the relationship matters, and you're giving them control over the timing. The whole goal here is to invite connection, not force a confrontation.
This little formula is the key to the most important step of all. When they agree to talk, your only job is to listen. You're not there to defend yourself. You're a detective for their heart. You listen for the feeling and the unmet need hiding underneath all their words, and you just reflect it back to them. You keep guessing until you hear them say, yes, that's it. That right there, that's the moment the healing really begins.
Only after they feel totally heard do you move to step 3. A real apology isn't just saying, I'm sorry. It has to have these 4 parts. You have to name the specific thing you regret. You validate the impact it had on them. You take accountability for why it was wrong. And you make a real commitment for how you'll try to handle it differently next time. This is what actually rebuilds trust.
So once the repair is complete, what's the long-term effect? I mean, using this protocol isn't just about ending one fight. It's about changing the entire foundation of your relationships for good.
Think about it like this. Every single time you successfully repair a rupture, you're making a deposit into that relationship's emotional bank account. You're building this long history of proof that says, hey, we can get through hard things. We are safe with each other. And over time, all those little deposits create this huge reserve of trust and intimacy that's almost unshakable.
So ultimately, this is a total shift in how we think. The goal is not a conflict-free life. I mean, that's impossible. The goal is to get so good at repairing these ruptures that conflict just loses its power to create fear and disconnection. Your new mission, if you choose to accept it, is to become a master of repair.
And this isn't just theory, right? It's a call to action. So I'll leave you with this question to think about. Maybe it's a big rupture, maybe it's a small one, a spouse, a friend, a coworker. What one relationship in your life will you choose to apply this to and take that first brave step toward reconnection?